The complaint started small: a loose railing at the community playground, a flickering streetlight near the mailboxes, a cracked sidewalk slab that had begun to tilt upward like a warning. Residents emailed, they submitted maintenance requests, they attached photos, they followed protocol. HOA-Karen responded with polished language and delayed timelines. Budget review pending. Not a priority at this time. Cosmetic, not structural. She was precise, controlled, always composed. But safety wasn't cosmetic. Mrs. Delgado mentioned the loose railing during the monthly meeting. Karen nodded and redirected the conversation to lawn compliance violations. A father raised concerns about the dark streetlight. Karen reminded everyone that holiday decorations were still up past the deadline. It became a pattern. Anything that threatened image, immediate action. Anything that threatened safety, deferred. Spring arrived. Children returned to the playground daily. The railing shook when they leaned on it. The cracked sidewalk widened after heavy rain. The streetlight flickered more violently, then stopped working entirely. Still, emails were archived. Still, requests were labeled under review. Karen prided herself on order, on appearances, on maintaining standards. But order without protection is neglect in disguise. And neglect has a timeline. It doesn't announce itself loudly, it waits until one moment makes ignoring it impossible. The incident happened on a Thursday, late afternoon. Parents chatting nearby, children racing between swings and the climbing structure. 7-year-old Caleb leaned back against the railing. He had done it dozens of times before. This time, the bolts gave way. Metal snapped. The railing collapsed backward. He fell hard against the concrete edge below. The sound silenced the playground. A scream followed. Then another. Blood. Confusion. Someone called 911. Another parent pressed a towel against Caleb's head while his mother shook uncontrollably beside him. The ambulance lights painted the quiet neighborhood in flashing red. Residents stood frozen, staring at the broken railing lying on the ground like evidence. Because it was. 3 maintenance requests had been submitted about that railing. 3. Dated, documented, archived. By the time Karen arrived, drawn by the commotion, paramedics were already lifting Caleb into the ambulance. She asked what happened, but she already knew. Her eyes scanned the railing, the exposed bolts, the snapped bracket. She opened her phone, scrolled through old emails. She didn't say anything. For the first time, there was no polished response, no redirection, no procedural language, just silence. Because the cost of delay had just become visible, and visible damage can't be filed away. News travels differently when it carries guilt. By evening, screenshots were circulating in the neighborhood group chat, email timestamps, maintenance request confirmations, photos submitted months earlier. Residents weren't angry, not yet. They were stunned, because this wasn't unpredictable, it wasn't unavoidable, it was ignored. A special meeting was called, standing room only. Karen sat at the front table and had posture straight, hands folded tightly. The broken railing photo was projected on the screen behind her. Then the emails, one by one. Mrs. Delgado read hers aloud. The father who reported the streetlight read his. Another resident described nearly tripping on the cracked sidewalk weeks earlier. Patterns emerged. Funds had been allocated to repaint the clubhouse trim, to replace decorative shrubs, to enforce mailbox color uniformity, but safety repairs had been delayed repeatedly. When asked why, Karen began with her usual phrasing: budget prioritization, liability assessments, vendor scheduling. But the words sounded thinner now because a child had been hospitalized, and policies don't comfort parents in emergency rooms. For the first time, residents didn't interrupt her. They didn't argue. They simply waited until she ran out of explanations, and silence took the floor. Caleb needed stitches, a mild concussion. He would recover, physically. But something else in the neighborhood had fractured. Trust and independent inspection followed within the week. The findings were worse than expected. Loose stair rails near the pool, electrical issues in pathway lighting, uneven pavement near the entrance gate. Deferred, postponed, minimized. The final report was read aloud at another packed meeting. This time, there was no defense. Karen's voice was steady but quieter. She acknowledged oversight, admitted misjudgment, explained that preserving aesthetic standards had felt urgent, but urgency misapplied becomes negligence. The vote for removal passed overwhelmingly. No applause, no shouting, just collective exhale. In the weeks that followed, repairs began immediately. New vendors, transparent budgeting. Monthly safety audits posted publicly. Children returned to the playground. Parents stayed closer, watching more carefully. Because safety isn't decorative, it's foundational. And leadership isn't about maintaining appearances, it's about protecting people. HOA-Karen ignored safety issues until it was too late. And sometimes accountability arrives not through anger, but through consequences no one can ignore. If you've ever seen leaders turn people against each other to hold power, share your experience in the comments, like, subscribe, and share, because silence protects manipulation. Exposure restores community.